Thank you for joining this lecture today. My name is Ashima Bharadwaj and I'm a fourth year law student at Dr. D.Y. Patil Law College. Our college has organized this guest lecture on careers in legal journalism in collaboration with Think India Pimpri Chinchwad. So, legal journalism is one of the most unconventional and extremely fascinating facets of the field of law for which students do not even require a journalism degree. The main aim behind this guest lecture is to make the students aware about the legal journalism as a career option and other relevant aspects of it. So, by the end of this session, we will gain an insight of who a legal journalist is, the eligibility criteria for becoming a legal journalist, and the benefits of choosing it as your career. So, if you have any questions during the presentation, please keep them jotted down with you as we will have time for the questions at the end. Also, I request you to please keep your mic muted at all times to avoid any disturbances during the session. Now, before we move ahead, I'll be calling our respected principal, Dr. Ujjwala Shinde ma'am, to welcome our guest lecturer for today.
Principal ma'am, may I, if you
Yes,
permit?
please. Please, Madhavi.
Thank you.
You can go ahead.
Thank you. Respected dignitaries present over here and all my dear students. We have gathered here, of course, for a guest lecture on a very interesting topic, that is career in legal journalism. First of all, I would like to thank our principal ma'am that she always encourages us, and she has given me an opportunity to represent Dr. D.Y. Patil Law College. I am also welcome over here, Think India Pimpri Chinchwad Forum, who has collaborated with us, and with their collaboration, we are organizing this guest lecture. Media is considered as a fourth pillar of democracy. Thus, the act of collection, preparation, and distribution of news, that is journalism, is protected under the umbrella of fundamental rights to boost the democracy in India. Of course, legal journalism is one of the significant kind of journalism, and definitely it constitutes a lucrative career option for the young law aspirants. After many misreporting of the legal news or court reporting, the requirement of legal education for the job of journalist or for the job of reporters are in vogue. Recently, again, the case of sedition has involved a question or arised a question of protection of journalists for preserving democratic values. So to address various facets of legal journalism and to make students understand what all opportunities they have in this new field, we have Ms. Sukriti Singh with us. Madam, I welcome you from the on behalf of Dr. D.Y. Patil Law College. It's our pleasure to have you in this particular meeting. I'm very sure students will get benefited after listening you. Thank you so much, ma'am. I
Thank you so much.
Ashima.
Now, I'll please call upon Julie Patwardhan to give you a little introduction about Think India.
Thank you, Ashima. Think India is a national forum of students, alumni, and faculty from several premier institutes with several academic disciplines. We at Think India have felt the need to bind the students with an Indian nationalistic string to harness this part of the nation's treasure in furthering our aim of national reconstruction. Think India is an initiative to bring the best talent from the finest institutions with the broader objective of generating ideas and views geared towards national rejuvenation and inspiring young minds to take upon themselves their responsibility in the process of nation building. Think India creates an ecosystem for youth organizations and individuals who are working in the favor of national interest. We run various internship initiatives such as Niti, Vidhi, Anubhuti, Samvad, Sansadiya, etc. And also various forums such as International Relations Forum, Governance Forum, Human Rights, Economic Forum, etc. to reach each and every discipline. Today, we are very grateful to have Sukriti ma'am on our platform, and I'm sure it will be a great intellectual treat for students over here. We are a relatively new chapter working from the past 1 year and organizing several events. I assure you that we will continue to have such webinars and interactive discussions in the future. Thank you, Sukriti ma'am, for giving us an opportunity to host you, and thank you everyone for your patient listening.
Thank you, Julie. Now, without further ado, we will turn the time over to our guest speaker for today, Ms. Sukriti Singh Ma'am, Chief Administrative Officer of Live Law. I am pleased to have the chance to introduce this personality to all of you. So, Sukriti ma'am has been working with Live Law for more than 7 years and is currently working as a Chief Administrative Officer and has also been associated with various law journals and startups. She began her journey from the third year of her law school and explored different avenues in the field of law. She worked in different departments like editorial, sales, marketing, management, etc. She is also the consulting editor of IJSARD, an international journal, and advisory board member of various law journals. Along with Live Law, she's also worked in a hospitality portal and a few other startups and media houses. So once again, please join me in welcoming Ms. Sukriti ma'am to carry this session forward. Ma'am, please welcome.
Thank you so much, Think India and DY Patil Foundation for inviting me to this session. So we can proceed with the questions, Ashima.
Ma'am, actually, there are no questions as of now. Once you brief us a little about the topic, then we'll take the questions.
Okay. So as far as legal journalism is concerned, like what we know about journalism is the activity of gathering, assessing, creating, presenting news and information. Legal journalism specifically confined to the legal sphere, which covers all the things and concepts related to law. So similarly, legal journalism has been started of decade as a separate stream of journalism, which has now gained importance after the people became more and more aware about the rights, about the legal happenings. They have started watching towards the legal news. So legal journalism is somewhat a new concept which has started a decade or before, but now it has gained recognition because now the awareness has increased amongst the people. They have started talking about their rights, about the contemporary issues. Now people also look forward, towards the courtroom hearings, to the proceedings. They look forward what is there in the court which is happening, what is there in the Supreme Court which is happening. So this is what the legal journalism is now, which is now bringing the courtroom happenings, the courtroom cases and the judgments to you all in the simplified manner that each and every one of you can, access and know their rights and all the legal awareness. Over to you, Rashmi.
Okay, if anybody wants to ask any questions, please write them in the chat box. Any questions regarding legal journalism?
Good morning, all. Good morning, madam. My name is Keshav. Am I audible?
Yes, please, you are audible.
Just this question is regarding to internship. Like as you said before, there are some Niti, Vidhi, some internships are there. So can you light on this? How means what type of internship? What are the other factors come into this internship? Like for new generation, what they do in internship? Like, can you say something?
Yes, please. Okay, so what happens when you enter to the law school? You're a +2 fresher students coming from different streams, either commerce, humanities, and science background. Because law is not only pursued by students who are from humanities. It is a combination of all. Till +2, you're getting your basic academic concepts clear. When you enter a law school, you suddenly get to know about the law. And if you're pursuing a 5-year course, that is DLLB, so then you have to, get introduced by two streams altogether. You are reading law and policy and your concrete legal subjects. So from the first year, try to explore more and more in terms of, I think, NGOs. The first semester, you cannot directly go to a Supreme Court or a High Court. You have to first understand and learn your basics. So try to participate in more and more seminars when you're in your first year of your college. Write research papers, try to read and learn more as much as you can. So, and as you enter your second semester, when you have a, when you have studied few of a law subjects, for example, constitution, law of contract, and some other legal subjects, then you should start your internships from the trial course, because either you go to corporates, either you go to litigation, either you want to pursue judiciary, or in legal journalism also. If you want to, excel, you should have this basic knowledge of law, which is very essential. So from the beginning, from third year of your college, you should start interning in trial courts. Then when you grasp few of the subjects like you've been, and those semesters when you have studied CRPC and CPC, you should now then proceed slowly towards High Court. Then at the final year of your college, you should go to Supreme Court. So it should be a stepwise and stepwise and a planned internship, because you cannot directly go to a High Court and sit and learn. You have to have your concepts very clear before getting into internships. So go stepwise from your first year, start reading and writing, develop this habit, because the more you'll read, the more you'll learn, the more your law subjects or your concepts would be clear. So be clear with your concept, and then from the second or third year of the college, start with trial courts, know the basics, because the trial course is the first foundation where you'll understand how this legal system works, how the entire procedure works in this legal system. So start with trial courts, then High Courts to Supreme Court.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
Kindly please
Hello.
keep your mics muted and write down your questions in the chat box. I'll read them out.
Hello. Hello, ma'am.
Yes, please. Yes, I can hear you.
Good morning. Hi, madam. Good morning.
Good morning.
I am Mr. Jaydev Bhalshankar from DY Patil College. Just I want to ask that when any matters, criminal matters is happened, so all the journalists are going there. They are running there to cover that matter. So is there a difference between the criminal journalism and legal journalism?
No, there is no specific difference between criminal and legal journalism. There are different aspects, you see, sir, because we try to bring all the contemporary cases, all the social issues to you. So it is not somewhat demarcated. Yes, the criminal matters are more highlighted. For example, if there is a Nirbhaya rape case, if there is some sexual assault case, some POCSO related cases, or some cases which is actually impacting the society. So there, that has been covered more. But we cover all facets, like we have covered cases like NJC, Ayodhya, that was a commercial dispute, and other cases also. So it's not a demarcation between a criminal journalism and legal journalism. But yes, contemporary cases, since they have been covered by the mainstream media also, so viewers look upon us to provide the accurate information and authentic information upon the same. So that's why we have to cover those subjects broadly, because those are technical legal subjects. So you have to give a correct insight on that. So that is why we cover some of the criminal cases more, not all, because we cover RTI as well, we cover corporate updates as well, we cover different maintenance, divorce, other cases as well. So it is not confined to a particular stream. It is when we say legal journalism, so all the concept related to law comes under it. But yes, due to the things which impacts more to the society has been gained more traction by the mainstream media, but legal journalism somewhat try to cover each and every aspect.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So here I would like to tell you the importance of legal journalism in the current scenario, as this question is actually connected to that. So now, since the law has been considered as a career option, because earlier that only the engineering and medical was a career option. So law has come into picture. People have started moving towards law as a profession. It's not the same concept which says that that koi jo kuch nahi karta wo law karta hai. This is not the same case now. Now people have started understanding about their rights. They have understood the scope of law. So now the more and more these portals have, like portals like our Live Law or Bar and Bench or other legal portals have emerged, because people have now started understanding about their rights. You see several public interest litigations have been filed in the court. There are students who are filing cases, they are writing letter petitions. Now, so the awareness has been spread in the society, which is now actually compelling people to know more about their rights, to coming to a forum where they can get the actual information, they can know their legal rights, they can know the law. So that is why legal journalism has gained this traction, and it's very important in this current scenario to have a source or a platform where you can get the correct and the accurate source of information. So that is why the legal journalism is important in this current scenario where the rights and awareness is spreading. So to get the correct information, to provide the correct information, there should be somewhat a one-stop portal or a resource where people can look forward to know about their rights and the contemporary happenings about the court in this country. Next question, please.
Yes, ma'am. So there's another question. Somebody has asked, what kind of skill set one needs to develop to get into the field of legal journalism?
So, as I said, your concepts, your legal concepts should be very, very clear. You should be very clear in your major laws. For example, when you go to the court as a legal journalist, you're not confined to one particular subject. You have to cover diverse cases every time. So while you're in your law school, you should have a very strong command over your law subjects. Next comes the ability to write and research well. A legal journalism must be a fair researcher and should have that writing skills to summarize the comprehensive and those complicated cases into simple language, because that is a job to provide the legal information in the simplified manner to the people. So it is very important for them to have that ability. If you want to be a correspondent, then you should be very patient and calm to listen the observations and note down all the relevant observations, and then you proceed. Because in the courtroom, if there is a physically now the scenario is that the virtual hearings are going on, but when there is a physical hearing in Supreme Court specifically, I'll say the court is jam packed. So to hear amongst the chows, to get the correct observation noted down, to send it on time, the promptness should be there. They should be diligent enough, and that diligence will come up if you know the law, if you know the concepts, that how what is has been dealt in the case, what are the relevant observations. So to be a legal journalism, though you don't need a journalistic degree, but those basic skills like writing, researching, and your academic subject should be very, very clear. And you should have that zeal, that grasp to all the law subjects and an intense interest in the field, which makes you stand out above the all.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. The next question is, how a law graduate can enter legal journalism? Should I do journalism course? Can you put a light on that? Basically, what is the eligibility criteria for entering legal journalism?
I think by far the only eligibility criteria on papers is you should have a degree of law. You should have a better understanding of law. As I mentioned, your subjects must be very clear. It is not important that you should have a law journalism degree specifically, because this is something which you learn and you expertise after certain period of time. When you get into this, you report several matters, you write, you groom in this entire process. So those basic legal writing research skills is very important, and you should know your subjects, know your major laws really very well. So do your concentrate on 5 years very sincerely, so that when you go out, you should have this basic command on your subjects. Either you go to any field, if it's not legal journalism, if I talk about litigation, if I talk about judiciary also. So this basic understanding of law is the foundation, is the basic which should be there. In which every student must, have this, have it in them, that they should be very clear in their subjects.
Okay, then the next question is, can legal journalists post judgment about trial cases after concealing the actual names of appellant and respondent, which can help other people who are going through similar trial cases?
See, it depends. Sometimes a normal we cannot post all the cases, and we cannot post every matter. What we do is that every day thousands of matter has been heard in different courts in this country. So to chalk out of them the most relevant ones, because we have to focus more on the quality rather than the quantity, because every judgment we cannot be posted, because on day-to-day basis the status of the cases change. Sometimes some cases has been overruled in other cases. So that's what we do in Supreme Court, that we cover the major landmark cases which set a precedent for the other litigants. So every case cannot be reported, every case cannot be cited. We have to cover those reportable judgments which is actually of some relevance.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. We've also created a little question bank for this session. So I'll begin with those questions. Uh, what kind of skill set do one need? I mean, you just explained that. I mean, next, what other courses can one do along with this law degree to get kind of an upper hand?
I'll say instead of
Relevant
doing
courses.
I think instead of doing a course, you practice more and more to write. You should be, in your and nourish your research. Try to be more, try to have that mindset, that skill set of a researcher, and write more and more papers for journals. Write for journals. Start a new journal. Write your blogs. Just voice out your opinions, because that should somewhat very important, that how you articulate your words, because legal journalism is somewhat not like a mainstream media where you can put all the masala content and present to be it more attractive. You have to be very specific, very clear, because the audience you are catering, all of them are not lawyers. Some are laymen, some are students also. So you should present your facts very clearly. So those only the basic research and writing skills will definitely keep you an hand up than other people who wish to get into this profession. So every legal correspondent be working at any positions must have a diligent and a fair reading and writing skill.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. The other question is, what are the future prospects, or what are the basic reasons that one should opt for this legal journalism as a career option? How far does the scope arise in the next 5 to 6 years?
Considering this situation, when you have seen an entire pandemic which has shaken this entire country, so there is always a scope if you wish to profess it, if you wish to, pursue it. So definitely legal journalism is a evolving career option, where now you can see that the mainstream media has also started covering the courtroom updates. They have also, doing the live feeds also. They cover more and more legal cases as the news story. So they have started recruiting people who have diligence in law, specifically legal reporters. They have started hiring. So now I think every mainstream media also have a specific legal correspondent, legal editor in their team. So the scope is widening. So what actually the scope is, it is somewhat be increasing as the people will be more and more aware about their rights, as the society will evolve into this. Because this profession started just a decade or 10 to 15 years ago only, full-fledged, when people have actually started reading legal news and updates. So there is a very long scope in it where you can actually create a difference, because when you're into this legal journalism, you have a responsibility also, because you are responsible for presenting the accurate facts to the people who doesn't know about the law. So the scope is definitely widening, and one must choose this as a career option, but have that basic skill and patience, because this profession won't give you glamour, that that fame which people see in media and news organizations. But definitely you will be contributing something to the society. You'll be contributing your part towards the society, serving them in a way. So definitely all the law students, if they wish to get into legal journalism, they should start upscaling themselves, definitely pursue this profession. We welcome every diligent, competent candidate with open hands.
Okay, ma'am. The next question is what kind of writing skills or writing skills one should focus on while writing? Court hearings, commentaries, news related to the legal field, etc. What kind of content should one be writing?
You cannot always choose or pick something very specific when you're into legal journalism, because sometimes you have to write a column, you have to do an analysis. Sometimes you have to cover the courtroom updates. That is an entire different thing, because then you have to hear the observation and prepare a report. Sometimes there are judgments which is there on the website. You have to search the relevant ones, the reportable ones. Then you have to prepare the story after reading that exhaustive judgment. Then, if some important judgment has been passed, you have to write an analytical piece of it. So it depends, it varies. So when I say you develop your skill and your subjects and your writing and reading skills, it applies uniformly to all the sphere. You just have to be very clear, very confident, and very, to the point to your writing. And the other things will follow. Once you are into this field, you will be uh, doing everything. You will be covering judgments also, you will be covering static judgments also, you will be covering some of the speeches or some of the law events also. Then you have to prepare a report out of it. Then you have to write an analytical piece out of it. So there are several categories in legal journalism also. So it's not confined to one particular thing, but definitely you should have your basics very clear and everything will follow. Once you be in the system and once you evolve in this entire process, you learn gradually how things are done, how reports, several kind of reporting are done, because you cannot overnight master all the skills. It comes gradually with time. So it's a learning process where you learn every day, you evolve every day. So one must just have that basic upscaling with them, and the rest, the process will teach you everything.
Okay, somebody has put up another question. What is legal reporting in journalism?
Legal reporting, as it's very specific, that covering the legal updates, judgments, happenings in the courtroom corridors to you. Like the main journalism is a very wide scope where the presenting of information, bringing out the updates is somewhat there. But legal journalism will only give you the legal updates and everything which comes under this legal sphere to you, apart from the mainstream journalism. It will focus only on the law.
Does legal journalism has censorship? If yes, then how?
Censorship, to that extent where you shouldn't land into a contempt. It is confined to that only, that if you're reporting something, it should not be against the institution, the ethics institution, against your court, against any lawyer, the petitioners, the victim. You should be only reporting the essential facts, and something should not be derogatory or something should not be defamatory. And that happens. I don't think that ever happens in legal reporting, that we need some sort of censorship, because this is somewhat we know our limits very well, and we have been reporting only the fact. It's a fact based journalism where so there is no chance of manipulation. And in India you can voice your opinion, but there are restrictions on it which we as lawyers understand very well. When we where we have the freedom of speech and expression, we have this reasonable restrictions also, and that has been followed as a grand norm in legal journalism, that we should not ever cross our boundaries, because we are talking about the judges, the lawyers. So there is a sense of responsibility which we all have, that nothing should be reported, nothing should be spoke which goes against the dignity of the institution or a person Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Another question. Can we do practice and legal journalism together? Any restrictions from the Bar Council or about practice?
There is actually, when you are as a litigant, you cannot work as a legal correspondent, because clearly the advocate mentions that we cannot, if we are a practicing lawyer, we cannot do any profession. What you can do is you can be a freelancer, you can write columns for us, you can have your opinion pieces, you can write articles, but when you are working as a correspondent, you cannot work as a litigant. Your voice is not clear, Ashim. It's muted.
You're on mute.
Sorry, I forgot to unmute. What is the biggest problem that you've encountered being in the field of legal journalism so far?
So, not to offend anyone, but as I said, there are thousands of cases which is reported every day. So we get briefs in, I think, hundreds of briefings we receive from different parts of the country. So and it's very normal that every lawyer thinks that their case is essential. That is somewhat path breaking. So sometimes we are not able to report all the judgments. So this to explain to the lawyers that every case cannot be covered, or this is just a very basic case. This cannot be reported. Somewhat seems to be, a bit problematic because they feel that we are not considering the importance of the subject matter. And since we are into the subscription business, so it is very sad that still there is a big technological gap between the lawyers, that they are not able to access the basic computer skills they are lacking. So to explain them that how to subscribe, how to use these logins, how to use the system, it is very, very tough. So only apart from this, I don't think there is a problem, because that is our job, is to make things easier, make law easier for the people. So it is more of a challenge rather than a problem. But yeah, at some point of time, the people lose their temper. The people, feel that we are kind of ignorant. We are not considering the importance of the subject matter. That somewhat we feel very sorry that we are not able to explain them, because because somewhat we are also bounded by certain limitations. So if we are covering everything, it is not possible for us to cover all the cases which is happening in the country. We have to be selective. So that is one challenge.
Okay, ma'am. Do legal journalists have more creative freedom than other law graduates?
No, that is somewhat, there is no creative freedom as such. But yes, they are doing it professionally. So they are doing it somewhat as a profession. So they have their own, privileges, that they can write. They are writing for organizations. So somewhat when they are writing an opinion, so they can somewhat voice out the thoughts also in some point of time, apart from the facts they are presented. But there is no creative freedom, because in specifically if I talk about life law, so we open this forum for all, where everyone can submit their columns, everyone can submit their articles. So this freedom is for all. It's just a matter of time the journalists are accessing it and taking it professionally. Others are just reading and trying to write, trying to contribute their part. But there is no creative freedom which is specifically for a legal journalist.
All right. Ma'am, the next question is, are there any instances where legal journalism got questioned or attacked on the questions of morality or ethics?
I don't remember anything in my career. There is nothing on morality. But yes, sometimes it happens, that if court has given any judgment, it goes against a person, a group, a community, and any organizations. So it is our job to present the facts as it is, but sometimes it is not acceptable. People feel that we are biased, we are only giving one side, we are not presenting both the sides. But but they must understand that it is our job to present the information as it is. There is nothing to be manipulated in legal journalism. We have to be very specific with what has been said by a judge, because it is somewhat said by a highest dignitary. Or if something has been observed by the apex institution in this country, it is our moral and ethical responsibility to present it in the way it is. So there is no chance of questioning, but yes, you cannot please everyone when you're working in such sphere. So we have been alienated many times by taking sides, by not covering something properly or something. But we know we are doing our job, and if something wrong goes, we believe that we'll be punished directly by the institution. So there is nothing which I'll say morally wrong with, but yes, we have been questioned because everyone has their own perspective, their own opinion. So we respect and value that, but there is nothing which is morally or ethically being questioned in the journalism so far, as I have seen in my career.
Okay, ma'am. Next question. In case of questionable or controversial published articles, editorial, who will be held accountable, the publisher or the author?
See, here it depends. If we are publishing it under the category of columns or opinion, so the sole responsibility is of the author, because we always add a disclaimer in the end that the views which has been observed in this article is by the author. It is his views. Live Law doesn't endorse any of the opinion which has been given in the article. If any news report has been published under the name of Live Law, or any story has been covered by any of our correspondent, so it is our responsibility. Then we will be definitely accountable if we misreport something. But if any opinion or any article has been published or contributed by any author, so the responsibility or the liability goes to that specific article. But that's why we have kept this editorial board to filter out those articles which may create such issues, which actually cater some sort of controversial or questionable objects. We never pass to our editorial those articles specifically.
Okay, ma'am. How print and digital media journalism differs from each other when it comes to having an impact on the readers, and which is core effective and accessible to the readers, print or digital media?
See, I feel personally, I feel both has its own relevance. Now, since everything is available on one click, so the digital media has been more accessible. Then only are these portals like ours, Live.law or other portals have emerged. But print media always holds its relevance because we also we belong to this 90s generation and we have this habit of reading newspaper. It is somewhat an essential part of a routine. We look forward for magazines. There's the feel which we say we don't get if we, don't just turn out the pages of a newspaper or magazine. So both of them has its own relevance. The demarcation lies in the mode of accessibility. That newspaper is somewhat you have to wait for the edition. It will come to you, then you can access it. The digital platforms are just available at one click, because every one of us now, I think, has mobiles, have devices where they can access these forums. It's more of an accessibility, which has actually widened the source of information to the people. Both of them serve the purpose of, giving out the information, but somewhat digital media have enlarged it. The scope has been enlarged, the resources has been enlarged, there has been multiple options for the readers. In print, there are specific publications which people actually refer or they are existing now. But in digital, every day you see a new portal or a new resource coming up with some of the exclusive features. So readers have multiple options to read and to get the information.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. What has been the journey of Live Law?
So Live Law has started in 2013, to be more specific, June 13, 2013, with a small blog which actually intended to give, as it says, Live Law, all about law. So whatever, wherever it is happening, anything in the legal field in this country, we intended to cover that. We always wanted to create this independent portal which supports independent journalism. And that is what has been the motive of Live Law altogether. Because somewhat we believe in it's to for by the people, and it's be more specific to for by the, it has been started by a handful of lawyers, authors, academicians. I was a law student when I started my journey as an intern in Live Law. So from a team of 8 to I think team of more than 20, 25 people, this journey of Live Law has seen its all phases. Like we have struggled for AIDS, we have been questioned where there were several challenges which we have met, because being an independent portal, self-sustained portal, we somewhat have to rely sometimes on grants. We have then started the subscription model. So the journey of Live Law for each and every person who has been a part of it was more of the vision of independent journalism, what we all believed in, that live law is all about, which supports journalism, which believes in constitution as the grand norm. And we have always done our part in giving the best possible information to our readers, to be a one-stop source where you can find everything related to law. It's kind of, and that took us to make live law as our part of routine, that we have adopted live law, imbibed it in our lives so that we can make this happen. So the journey of live law as an institution has been consistent and something which has gradually grown along with time. And each and every member of live law has actually grown with it, because we have evolved, learned, because everyone of was a fresher. We were not, none of us were from a journalistic background. But during these 8 years, I think we have learned through the process. Every day we learn something new. Every day we upgrade ourselves to sustain in the market. So in live law, it is a continuing process which is ongoing, and then where we are learning and evolving every day.
Okay, ma'am. Now we'll take up the next question. Should a legal journalist wait till limitation period ends after judgment, or can he still post if case is under revision in Supreme Court or appeal to Supreme Court or President?
I think in contemporary cases, when we report any courtroom update, so we report the observation which has been made by the court in the current case or in the ongoing case. To do a full judgment story, we actually wait out for the judgment to come out or to be uploaded on the Supreme Court website. We never report or publish anything which has not been said or which has not been held by the court. So there are two parts of reporting which is done actually. First is the courtroom reporting, which speaks more about the observations in the court, which speaks more about the observation made by the judges, the remarks made by the judgment, the courtroom exchange which we say, what all has been argued by the lawyers, and at the end of the day, what has been observed by the court, whether it has been adjourned, whether it has been dismissed, whether the order has been upheld. That is one part. Next, whenever the full judgment or the full story has been done upon a case, when a judgment is out, we always wait for the judgment to come out. Then we do an entire full-fledged analytical story out of it. We address each and every question of law which has been addressed in the case, and then we publish it.
And the next question is, what is the importance of social media in improving legal journalism or in the overall structure of legal journalism?
I think it's a very vital, a very vital source for spreading information, for circulating the news, because legal journalism is somewhat not working as, on hard, we are not into print, we are not into this electronic journalism. Legal journalism is still confined as a news portal, as a digital medium to bring accessibility to law. So social media plays a very essential role, because our audience and the information which we circulate comes major and primarily from the social media. We are active on all the social media platforms and we post all the updates timely, because there we get our audience, there we spread the news. Social media is very relevant nowadays, not only for, I think, legal journalism, but on the whole for circulating more and more news. Every, I think, either print, electronic, or digital media are all looking forward for this, for social media to spread the news, to be an active source to spread out the information.
Ma'am, what are the legal journalists' ethical code?
There are actually there are 5 principles which we actually follow, which is not, it's not something which is codified, it's not something which is written, but there are 5 values which I feel there should be there in a journalist. First is honesty and truthfulness. You shouldn't be reporting or spreading a wrong information, because you have this, when you are a legal journalist, you have this responsibility to provide the best information. Then there should be an independence and objectivity. You should keep your interest aside and then report and then act as a journalist. You cannot be biased while reporting. You should present your facts with impartiality and neutrality and presenting each and every viewpoint. There shouldn't be specific viewpoint which has been reported. Diligence is next thing which is very, very important, because to present a pertaining fact or to provide a good understanding of the subject, you should be diligent enough within yourself before presenting any fact. And whatever you present, accountability. The last point is accountability. You should be accountable enough of whatever you present, because being a legal journalist, being a legal editor is a very big responsibility.
Okay, now I'll take up the last question for the day. How do we work as a freelancer in live law? Someone has asked.
So we invite applications for researchers, for a desk person. So you can send your CVs at careers@livelaw.in, where we always go through that email for the relevant applications. So keep sending your CVs, your write-ups. We always look forward to have engaging and enthusiastic people on board. If you wish to write for us, you can. If you want to contribute some article, you can send it at columns@livelaw.in. So these are two emails. If you want to send your CVs, if you want to work as a researcher, as a freelancer, you may send your CVs at careers@livelaw.in, where we'll be definitely filtering out the eligible applications. And if you want to write for life, you can send it at columns@livelaw.in.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am, for this interactive session. Now I'll please turn over to Ms. Julie Patwardhan for proposing a vote of thanks. Julie, please welcome.
Thank you, Ashima. I'm Zuidi Patwardhan from BLLB third year, and I'm here to give the vote of thanks for today's event. The best and beautiful things in the world cannot be seen or even touched. They must be fed by heart. Thank you is one such prayer among them. I consider it a great privilege to propose a vote of thanks to all the dignitaries who have witnessed it as a memorable and successful event. Today, my words are not enough to express the gratitude. On behalf of our college, I would like to thank our chief guest, Ms. Sukriti Singh, who graced us with her thought-provoking address, set a perfect platform for our college. Secondly, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude towards Think India organization and Think India convener, Mr. Pranay Singh, for collaborating with us to organize this wonderful event. I would also like to thank our beloved principal ma'am for all words of wisdom that radiated a source of energy within us. We will remain forever grateful to you, and we thank you for being with us today. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank Dr. D.Y. Patil Unitech Society for their constant support and encouragement. Heartfelt thanks goes to all our teachers who are our second parents, who have always stood by us, who have guided us, led us, and motivated us. We feel proud and thank you for making us feel happy with your presence in this function.
Thank you, Sukriti ma'am. I guess whatever questions we received, you have, taken a call of all the questions. So thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to all
Thank
of
you,
you for
ma'am. It was
inviting
really
me.
very informative. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.